These last 10 years have turned out to be the best of my life. Not in spite of my illness, but because of it. Now, nobody would ever choose this, but I prefer to do it as a gift. The gift that just keeps taking. Now, not many people in my position mind that I get more attention than they do. What they just tell me is that if I ever get a shot in front of a microphone, I should start talking. So, here I am. And that's why I consider myself a Lucky Man by Michael J. Fox, a memoir. Now, my story thus far, in 1979, I made my decision to drop out of high school and left Canada for LA with dreams of becoming an actor. But by my third year, I was struggling. And winning the role of Alex P. Keaton on Family Ties in 1982 sparked a turnaround. Now, one day, my producer on Family Ties summoned me into his office and pulled out a script too large for the show. Now, Mike, there's a new Spielberg movie. Steven wanted you for the lead role, but you'd have to work your regular day on the show. All right? Read it. My head was spinning. This is that new future thing, right? Yeah, I love it. And the deal was made. Now, to make a long story short, by 1985, Family Ties was the second most watched program on primetime, and Back to the Future had shot to #1 at the box office. Everywhere I looked, I saw my image reflected back at me. I had become famous. Now, in my mid-20s, I was no longer hearing the word no very often. There were free meals, first-class travel, luxury hotel rooms. Heck, by 1986, my driveway resembled a luxury car lot. And then there was the house itself. Now, you know the old phrase that starts with, girls who never used to give me the time of day? Well, I was ending it with, were now inviting me home to read it off their bedside clocks. Yeah, my cup had runneth over, and I was trying to drink up as much overflow as humanly possible. I mean, the booze was free, and I was usually the guest of honor. And one morning, an offensive amount of light filtered into the room. I'd put away a lot of beers the night before. And that's when I noticed my pinky. It was twitching. Maybe I slept on it funny. But the tiny tremor just would not stop. Now, it occurred to me it might have something to do with my hangover, but who gets the shakes in one finger? So I called my wife, Tracy, and explained exactly what I was experiencing. She quickly added that her friend's a brain surgeon, and I should give him a call just in case. So 10 minutes later, I had this friend on the line, and he came up with a host of possible explanations, each one more horrific than the last, including 2 words I was not prepared for that day. Parkinson's disease. Now, the doctor said more words like young onset, progressive, degenerative, incurable, very rare. Why the hell was he doing this to me? I had no real idea about what this monster was, but as I began to feel its teeth and claws, I sought second opinions, which were unanimous. No, now this was not my script, all right? I hate it. I'm not doing it. But during this time, though, it made sense to do a little personal research.
Now, Parkinson's disease usually begins between 50 and 65 years of age. The disabling symptoms include muscular rigidity, slowness of movement, and tremor, and stiff postures.
Unfortunately, all these features painted an apt depiction of my life and everyday life with Parkinson's. But I was pinning my hopes on between 50 and 65 years of age. And my symptoms, if that's what they were, showed up in my late 20s. Now, how could I possibly have this old person's disease? Well, young onset Parkinson's is rare. I got no satisfaction from defying the odds. Now, stubbornly, I hoped my diagnosis would turn out to be a mistake. We'd have switched toothpaste or something, and I'd have a couple of symptom-free days, and I'd think, oh, Jesus, that's it, the toothpaste, I'm cured. Parkinson's was not a fire I could put out, but I could work on my denial.
Now, Mike, the first drug approved specifically for Parkinson's is Cinemet. However, it's accepted that if Cinemet succeeds in relieving your symptoms, it removes any doubt you have full-fledged Parkinson's.
So I had decidedly mixed feelings the first day I took half a Cinemet pill. But after 30 minutes, I found... Holy shit. I had Parkinson's. The good news was, now I could hide it. I know Doc, no one outside of my family and very closest friends and associates could know.
Mike, with proper treatment, I see no reason you can't have another 10 good years of work in front of you.
10 years? No, I just turned 30. I thought I can quit and live life on my own terms, but now, this was suddenly my fate. Now, weeks later in LA for a reading for the American president, I was convinced Parkinson's was going to cost me a job for the first time. I was caught up in the reading and forgot to take my cinema, and tremors were about to kick in. Before I made my escape, we were informed we were going to have company physicals that day. Oh, I was stunned. Nobody told me. My left hand began to slap against my thigh. I hid it in my back pocket and swallowed half a cinema. Maybe if I was last in line. You know, one day I'd share my diagnosis with future employers, but it wasn't going to be today.
Michael Fox?
Oh, my turn. I pulled my hand out of my jeans. Steady as a rock. I dodged the bullet. Now, I need to explain this on-off phenomenon. All right, on refers to the time when the medication is telling my brain everything it wants to hear. But when I'm off, however, the disease has complete authority over my physical being. Rigidity, tremors, slurred speech, and diminished motor control can make communication difficult and sometimes impossible. Arranging life in order to be on in public was a balancing act for someone as determined as I was to remain closeted. And keeping my disease secret was rapidly becoming destructive. Now, during my part in Spin City, I did everything I could to make sure the studio audience didn't know I was sick. You know, manipulating props, or leaning against walls or furniture, or jamming my hands in my pockets. I remember that night, when the audience unknowingly had to wait for my symptoms to subside. I was lying on my dressing room rug, twisting and rolling around, trying to get my brain to accept the cinema. God damn it! Life would undoubtedly be easier for all my friends, family, and coworkers if I could be open about my health. You're only as sick as your secrets. It was time, and I was ready. Now, it was a simple plan. 2 interviews, and the news would be out, and I could just get on with my life. And then People magazine broke the story nearly a week earlier than expected, and as soon as the story hit, all hell broke loose. It quickly became clear that I was the news story over that weekend, and to say I was having second thoughts would have been a gross understatement. Fortunately, the coverage centered less on me than on Parkinson's disease itself. TV affiliates were giving PD patients of all ages an opportunity to talk about their experiences. Without intending to, I had sparked a national conversation about Parkinson's. Now looking back, I'm grateful I didn't wait any longer to share my story. To do so would have been to deprive myself of what had been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. I would never want to go back to my life before Parkinson's. It was a sheltered, narrow existence fueled by fear. It was a life lived in a bubble, but bubbles are easily destroyed. All it takes is a little finger.